Hi, I'm Michael. I'm a senior associate consultant in the Chicago office. I've been with Bain for 2.5 years and I attended the University of Illinois. So after my sophomore year of college, I interned at a credit card company. A lot of my colleagues in the internship class decided that they were going to interview for consulting when they went back to campus. I heard a little bit more about it, how it was so dynamic, it wouldn't just be one thing, I'd change industries all the time. So I decided to apply and ended up working at a competitor over that summer. I realized I really liked consulting, but Bain had been on my radar the whole time, and some of the things that they had been talking about the previous fall really started to click. In particular, office culture and the staffing model, and how that was something that was really unique to Bain, and so that was something that made me actually reapply for consulting as a senior, and fortunately it all worked out and now I'm here. So my first case at Bain was in the chemical space. I had spent about 8 months on this team and had been to several different plants and mines all across the country in the Southeast. Things got interesting when my team and our leadership team decided it made sense to go to the plant down in Trinidad and Tobago. And so we were about 5 miles off the coast of Venezuela and spent 3 months down there on the island. To give you a sense of how closely tied together we were with our client, there were several weeks where I was fully suited up in a flame retardant suit with goggles, a hard hat, and steel-toed boots, working hand in hand with the guys turning wrenches on the plant to try and figure out how it could run more efficiently, safer, and faster. And that's something that we were so committed to. Not only did we spend 3 months down there on the ground figuring it out with not only the GM of the plant, but the people there, we actually came back a few months later to make sure what we had set up was still working and figure out any roadblocks that had happened and make sure we got them out of the way. Something that sets Bain apart, and people always talk about people or culture, and I remember very clearly at my first community impact day taking a mental picture and thinking to myself, this is what makes Bain different. And it was after we had been out in the community doing things for different organizations. We always have a big volleyball tournament on Lake Michigan. After the tournament, there's a happy hour. And I remember looking across the room and seeing partners, managers, support staff, consulting staff, all intermingled and talking with each other. And that's something that's not necessarily unique to Bain. But what was unique to Bain was there wasn't a single person there who was talking to somebody because they were trying to network with them. They weren't trying to get on their project, they weren't trying to get on that client, they weren't trying to get on that team. So one part of Bain's AC program that really attracted me to the firm was the opportunity to do an externship in my third year. I chose to go to the nonprofit space, specifically an organization called the Civic Consulting Alliance. They do nonprofit work for the city of Chicago, specifically city government. And I spent 4 months completely outside of Bain, completely embedded at this firm, and actually spent all of that time working with a $300 million city agency, working with the CEO and their board of directors to figure out their next 5 years and their strategy moving forward. The skill set I had developed at Bain made me so valuable at Civic Consulting that they immediately put me on that project to spend that time with very senior people. I chose the Chicago office for a few personal reasons. My wife and I both have family in the area, and so to be able to be close to our family, even while at a job that is so global and travels quite often, it was really important to us. But something else was really unique about the Chicago office to me. Every year we track in our global survey how happy and how engaged people are. And it's a point of pride for our office that we've been at the number 1 or number 2 spot, I think, for the last 10 years. And so for me to go to the number 1 place to work and then the number 1 happiest office at the number 1 place to work was a no-brainer. If I think back about where I was as an intern at that credit card company versus today, I think back about how as an intern I was really struggling with the basic mechanics of interest rates and how that applies to a single customer. Versus 3 or 4 years later, I'm advising private equity funds on how big their market is, whether or not it's attractive, and whether or not they should buy into this deal.